I'm back again and continuing with my Resident Evil franchise review. Now, this time I'm going to talk about the movies. Instead of I might be able to squeeze in a game, but we're not going to get to it wasting time like this, so let's get started. Now, for what I understand, I think there's a Resident Evil trilogy in live action and a CGI movie. Now, for as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to try and be calm about this. The live-action versions suck! It's plain and obvious that nobody likes the live-action versions, except for the Resident Evil franchise reviewer also on YouTube named James Reed. And I think the only reason that he likes it is because it's original. That's the only thing it's got going for it. Now, I'm not trying to bash everyone. I'm not trying to bash everyone's beliefs on the Resident Evil live-action movies, but they stick nowhere close to the games. They're focusing more on action rather than survival horror. The original characters are barely ever in the movies. Instead, it focuses on a character that was never in the games, named Alice. I mean, they make Leon a pervert. They make Ada a wuss. I mean, those pieces of crap suck! I mean, seriously, look at them and compare them with the games. What do you see in the games? Well-developed characters going around blasting zombies and cracking a good joke or two in there, and also becoming true heroes in the end. Aside from some of them, and what do you see when you look at the movies? A character that we know little to nothing about, going around blasting zombies with few little to no characters from the original games in the movies. Now, there is one good movie, but I'm not entirely sure about it. But from the looks of it, considering it's CGI, the same way the game is made, it's Resident Evil Damnation. Now, from what I can understand in the plot, it focuses on Leon, thank God, as he is sent to Russia under orders from the U.S. government to deal with a bio outbreak using BOWs to clear something out. Cleared out, things got messy, and then there's a secret organization, Ada's involved, and there's even kind of a clue that she and Leon shared a good scene together. But the only good scene I can remember between the two, where I actually saw some chemistry between them, was way back in Resident Evil 2. Sure, Resident Evil Darkside Chronicles kinda showed it, but I'll talk about that one next. But judging by it, thank God they got the original characters, not Alice. They got someone who we're actually familiar with. Oh, my God. Praise. Gaia be praised. Now, don't ask why I say that. Now, as far as I'm concerned, the movie sounds absolutely fantastic. It sounds more like the Resident Evil games, more than the live-action movies. Yeah, it's that good. So, what do I give this movie? It is a complete mystery to me. That's why I can't... The problem is, I can't find it. I can't get it anywhere in any shop or store in America. Well, not in America, but in my home county of Midland County, Michigan. But then again, I haven't really been outside Midland for a while, so I probably don't know. But for as good as this movie sounds right off the bat, I'll give it 4.5 stars out of 5. Half a star being taken off because I've never seen it. Now, real quick, let's talk about Resident Evil Darkside and Umbrella Chronicles. Operation Raccoon City is pretty much just telling Resident Evil 3 all over again. Now, the Darkside Chronicles, from what I can understand, is pretty much Resident Evil 2 being retold in a different style. Now, instead of Claire and Leon separating, well, this is in one story called Memories of the Lost City. Now, instead of Claire and Leon separating, they work together in Raccoon City. They come across Sherry, as usual, in her usual innocent self. And it's pretty much the same flippin' story, only with it being faster paced, being put on the Wii with better graphics, and it being like an arcade game. I mean, seriously. The game does all the moving for you, and all you gotta do is shoot, shoot, shoot. Yeah, it's like an arcade game. I could literally just sit on the couch with one Wii remote in my hand and just shoot away. Now, all the familiar characters from Resident Evil 2 are present. Sherry Birkin, Annette Birkin, William Birkin, Ben Bertolucci. Well, you probably don't know who Ben Bertolucci is, but he's the guy who gave Leon and Ada information about how to escape from Raccoon City in Resident Evil 2. Ada's also present, obviously. But, unfortunately, unlike in Resident Evil 2, the characters aren't really given a lot of development. But then again, that's because they gotta squeeze this little game in. Little side quest, this little quest in the middle of a big series of games. You also got another one called Operation Javier. Oh, wait a minute, before I get to that. Let me say that Annette Birkin, I totally misjudged her. In Resident Evil 2, I just thought she was just a cold-hearted bitch who cared for nothing but her own work. Even put her daughter at risk. But watching Resident Evil Darkside Chronicles, they kind of give the character a whole new look. Actually make her care about her daughter and regret that they created all this chaos at her daughter's expense. And the fact that her daughter could be in danger because the T-virus or G-virus needs to put in an antibody to create offspring, and Sherry's the target. And even at the end, the very last cutscene's actually pretty tear-jerking, because you actually see Sherry feel like she actually cared about her mother. I mean, and you never saw that in Resident Evil 2. You never saw either of those things in Resident Evil 2. Then again, I only played the Leon missions. The Claire missions, I never really played. So, then there's this mission called Operation Javier, which finally explains the backstory of Krauser. Krauser and Leon teamed up together to stop some guy in South America. I think it was when he was working for an agency. And instead of taking on zombies, I think you're taking on goons. You get Javier, and I think Krauser and Leon team up, and then Krauser dies in a crash leading up to Resident Evil 4. I'm not really sure. Those are the only two games I remember from Resident Evil Darkside Chronicles, so it seems really easy. Now, for Resident Evil Umbrella Chronicles, it's right back to the same format as Resident Evil 4. Only that you're playing the characters like Jill Valentine, Ada Wong briefly. You even get to play as the possible secondary protagonist, Albert Wesker. I mean, not protagonist, antagonist. Seriously, that guy's let's face it, he's a villain. Yeah, so you pretty much just play as the characters on the other end of the spectrum, just like just like Darkside Chronicles. Operation Raccoon City is just telling Resident Evil 3 all over again, and that's pretty much it. Now, Darkside Chronicles, considering it's got some good moments, even though the characters aren't given as much development as they are in the original games, it finally comes to some explanation and all that fun stuff, and so I'll give it about 4 stars out of 5, just a little short of Resident Evil Damnation because it's slacking in a few parts. Resident Evil Umbrella Chronicles, well, it's okay to see things from a different person's perspective, so but it just seems to be lacking all the characters we're familiar with aside from Ada and Jill. So, I'll just give it 3.5. So, that's all for now. Be sure to join me for my next review, and see ya then.